Hey, I'm Brian Smith, and I want to talk to you today about grief. I know grief is a difficult subject to think about or talk about, but if you're here, you're probably thinking about possibly working with me on grief. So, what I want to do is answer 7 questions that I get fairly often from people who either work with me on grief or thinking about working with me. And the first question is, why are you offering this, Brian? Why are you doing this? Well, in the words of the Blues Brothers, I'm on a mission from God. And I say that, I'm only half joking when I say it, but I believe that we're all on a mission from God. And for me, I believe that it took me a while to figure out what my mission was, but I believe this is a big part of it. And the reason why I say that, I want to just kind of segue a little bit. You're probably familiar with the term near death experience. Near death experiencers are people who have passed over and come back. And they often come back with a renewed sense of purpose. They feel like they're on a mission, and sometimes they'll even learn what that mission is. Now, I haven't had a near death experience, but I've had what's called a spiritually transformative experience. And spiritually transformative experiences can be something as miraculous as like seeing an angel, or as tragic as the passing of a loved one, or as subtle as maybe even a vivid dream that really speaks to you. In my case, my spiritual transformative experience was the loss of my daughter, Shayna, in 2015. When Shayna passed, I kind of knew it developed over the next several years exactly what I needed to be doing. And this was part of it. I was very fortunate that when Shayna passed, I had developed a very healthy view of death. That mitigated the impact of Shayna's passing. It made it a little bit easier. It still wasn't easy. It still isn't easy to this day. But that perspective has helped me, and I want to share that perspective with other people. After Shayna passed, I joined an organization called Helping Parents Heal. And as part of Helping Parents Heal, I've worked with hundreds of parents in various ways on dealing with their loss. So I want to offer that to as many people as I can. And you may also be asking yourself, why do I need to go to anybody? Can't I just get over it? And I'm going to be very frank with you. Typically, the answer is yes, you can just get over it. Grief is a natural thing, and we all go through it at some point in our lives. But sometimes we need help. We never get over it, but we can learn to get through it. We can learn to make it easier. If you're looking for someone to partner with, I'm someone that can partner with you. I can lend a listening ear. I can give you my experience of what I've been through, what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, and I can share my perspective on life and death and what that really means and how our loved ones want us to go on. That perspective is one that I've learned and taught in helping parents heal, and I want to share it with everybody else. Now, we're social beings, and as social beings, we often need to process things in groups. So you can process things with a friend or a spouse, and that's great. But with a friend or a spouse, there's kind of a back and forth, a give and take. You don't want it to be all about you. If you go to someone like myself to work with, you can rest assured that it's going to be all about you. And sometimes it's best to talk to someone who doesn't know your circle of friends, and you can be more open. So it's another reason why I want to work with someone like myself. Now, I know a lot of people get concerned when I use the word spiritual. And if you looked around my site, you may have seen the word spiritual. And you may wonder, am I going to try to force my religion on you or take your religion away from you? And will the work with me be more important than your own personal beliefs? I want to say very quickly, I am not here to force religion on anybody. I'm not even here to force spirituality on anybody. My background is in engineering. I'm a very skeptical person by nature, and I'm not here to push anything on anyone. But I also want to say that spiritual is a word I believe we use often to describe something that science doesn't yet understand. Again, I'm an engineer. I place a lot of value in science. But the things that science doesn't quite understand yet, some people think are impossible or are spiritual or a woo-woo. But we're finding out as science evolves, it's discovering a lot of these things are actually real, and we can find out about them. So what I want to do with you, if you want to work with me, is share the evidence that I've discovered over the many years I've been studying this, and you can make your own decisions. Another concern people have when it comes to grief is if they allow themselves to grieve, will you get lost in it? And someone asked me this question just a couple of days ago, and like the next day I was watching a television program, and the main character in the program said this very same thing. His wife had died, and their colleagues were saying, you need to grieve. And he said, I'm afraid if I go into grief, I'll never come out of it. The fact of the matter is that grief is something that we need to process. If you don't process it now, if you try to stuff it down, if you try to cover it up with work, if you try to drink your way through it, if you sleep through it, it's probably going to pursue you, and it's probably going to come up later. And I know this because when my grandmother died when I was very young, I was in my early 20s, It took me 3 years before I actually processed my own grief. So my feeling about grief, my philosophy is to face it head on, to work your way through it. It's a lot of pain, it's a lot of work, but I think it's better. Another thing that people worry about when it comes to grief, and this is a concern that I had, was if I get over it, is that dishonoring the person who left? Now, my daughter, Shayna, was my heart, is my heart. And when Shayna passed, I thought, well, if I'm going to honor her, if I really, really love her, then I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life to show my love for her. I can assure you that that's not what our loved ones want. That's not the plan for our lives. And they would be more honored by us going and living great lives and becoming the best people that we can be. And that's my intention for myself. And that's my hope for you. Now, you may be wondering also, if you're going through grief, I feel exhausted. I feel drained every day. How can I ever feel like myself again? I want to say two things to that. One is, when we're going through grief, that person that we were, especially if it's a very, very deep loss, you're probably never going to be that person again. And that's okay. You can actually work hard and become a stronger person than you were. But it's slow. It's one step at a time. You're not going to get over it right away. But there are things you can do to work through it and to become, kind of the person that you were, and maybe even the version 2.0 of who you were. And then the last thing I want to address today is, I don't know how to live without the person that passed. I just don't think I can go on. I don't know. I don't even recognize my life without that person in it. And I want to say to you, that's okay. I think we all feel that way at some time. We do become addicted to the physical presence of the person in our life. And when that person passes, it means we have to develop a whole new relationship with them. It doesn't mean that they're gone. It only means that their body is gone. And we need to learn different ways to relate to them. And again, if you work with me, I think that's something I can help you to understand. So those are 7 questions. I kind of rushed through those real quickly. I wanted to make this short. But if you're interested in work with me, just reach out to me through my website and let me know. Thanks. Have a great day.